Hello everybody, this is Diana Peyton, second video that I'm putting together for you guys, and today the topic is routines and how and why routines are important for your child's development and also for your peace of mind right now, I guess you could say, because routines are helpful for the adults in the situation too. Routines are helpful for children in several different ways. The first one is that children don't have any concept of the passage of time. So to tell your children, oh, next month we may be able to go do this or that, they're thinking tomorrow is when we're going to go. And this is children up to about 4. Once they're past around 4, get to be about 5, they've got a little more experience with the world. And if they have experienced a lot of routine, then they are set up to handle stress and difficult situations better than children who don't have any routines. So passage of time, why is that important for children to understand? Children, because they don't understand the passage of time, can get very frustrated and feel like they're being treated unfairly, or that you're not telling them when something's going to happen when you really are, but since they don't have a concept of time, they don't get it. So the routine helps them predict several different things. It helps them predict really how long something is going to take. And if they've got routines, they can do things like, for example, you are trying to tell them that something's going to last for 3 hours. You could say 3 hours is how long it takes in the morning between when I drop you off and when you have lunch. We have a lot of structure at school, and this is because we want to help the children get to have some feeling of control over what's going on in their lives. Being able to judge time reduces their stress. They don't have to keep asking you, when is this going to happen? When is this going to happen? One of your children has a routine of coming and looking at my wall calendar and asking when Christmas is. And that is because when Christmas was just a month away, I showed him on the calendar. And you can see he's starting to catch on. This is how long a week takes. He's gone through the calendar and looked at all the special dates because they're colored in my calendar. And, what's this date and how long is it to that? Those kinds of experiences are also helpful. The routine is helpful, but also talking about the passage of time in ways that are more concrete to children. So, bringing out a calendar if you've got one, sharing a family calendar and saying, this is when we went on spring break and all these days have passed since we went on break and we haven't been back at school. So they can begin to judge for themselves. 3 and under, those kind of explanations are not going to be very helpful. But for the 4s and 5s, it can be extremely helpful. The 3-year-olds just aren't quite there yet, although some of them are, so it doesn't hurt to try this with your 3-year-old. It may work. So go ahead and give it a try. The other thing about routines is that it gives children a sense of self-efficacy. And what we mean by that is that it gives them a sense of control in their world. It lets them know that they can make things happen and they can take care of themselves. Children, if there is no routine, they start to feel hungry, and if they eat routinely, at certain times, they're more able to control themselves and not get agitated about that because they know in just a little bit of passage of time, yes, it will be time to eat. You may be telling them, no snack, we're going to be eating in a few minutes. And there's a routine too, right? We don't think of all these little things as a routine. Some families do have snack close to dinner, but it's a part of a piece of fruit to hold their children over. So that's the routine. When you you're really feeling hungry and it's not quite time for supper, we don't eat chips. We eat something that's going to be good for us because your body's telling you it needs energy, and that's good energy. So these things that you might not think of as routine are routine. It's not just the timing of everything; it's what the lead in is to certain activities. Um, Before we go on a walk, we always bring water. We put on sunscreen. We doing all those things helps the child predict, okay, really soon we're going on the walk here because we're doing all these things. So I don't have to keep crying that I want to go on a walk because I've got these indications and I can have a little control over myself and wait. So it helps with that. It helps with success. Children have so little power in the world, and the fact that nobody's talking about young children and childcare and how all of this, how the pandemic is affecting them, you don't hear anything about it at all. It's like they don't exist. Um, why did I go down that rabbit hole? I don't remember. I'm sorry. um, Knowing what's expected of them also leads to success. So when it's time to go to bed, you're expected to brush your teeth and put on your pajamas and whatever the routine is. It doesn't have to be the same for everybody. It just needs to be the same for them night after night. And when things are the same night after night, children can anticipate, okay, it's going to be bedtime. And your routines have got to stay predictable. If you vary from your routine with a child under 4, um, they they don't know what the rules are. They're trying to understand what's going on. They want to be successful, but they can't be if there's no routine because they can't anticipate what's expected of them. They can't hold all of that in their heads. They're very dependent on routine for success. Um, you know, our 2-year-olds over at the schools go get their lunchbox and open it up, and they just know that that's expected. They don't sit and wait for someone to get it for them. They don't sit and wait for people to start opening their containers or their yogurt or whatever it is they brought from home. They try because that's what they're used to, and they experience success that way. I finally did it. I got it myself. Now I know that in your home as parents, things can't be the way they are at school, right? You're doing 10 different things. The teachers are doing, if they've got 10 children, they're pretty much doing 10 different things too, but they're used to that. They're educated to do that. They learn skills to help children because in a room full of 8 3-year-olds, if you don't have routine, it's chaos. So it's important in the preschool. It's very obviously how important it is. It's not quite as so at home because it's easy for you to do everything for your child. It's easier to just put their shoes on than to wait the 10 minutes for them to get them on themselves. And that's where your routine comes in. If you know it takes your child 10 minutes to get their shoes on, then 10 minutes before you leave, they need to start putting their shoes on. So some of this is you training yourself too to give your child these cues about what's happening next. Some children benefit from like a chart that shows first I do this, then I do this, picture charts, so they can just see the picture and know, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Um, at the preschools, we have limits of how many children can be in certain areas because it gets crowded, and they'll tell on each other. Because if I'm in there, I'm not sure what all the limits are. They're on the walls, yes. And the children know, and they will tell you, oh, there's only supposed to be 3 people there, and there's 4. So they know, right? I might want to play in the sensory tub right now, but there's 3 people there. I need to wait. So you can see how this gives them a sense of efficacy, of having some power in the world. Um, let's see, did I have anything else about that? I wanted to add self-esteem to that piece about self-efficacy. Knowing that they can get their needs met is extremely important for self-esteem. but feeling a sense of power is as well. When we're first born, the only way we have to know whether or not we're valuable is just somebody loving us unconditionally. So we're taught I have a right to be happy and I have a right to be here just because I am who I am. It's not until around 7 that children are really judging themselves based on how well they do things. They get excited when they make accomplishments, but a big part of that excitement is that you're excited for them and they're happy that you're happy, and they feel the pride that you're reflecting to them. Remember, I think Frankie talked about this last time about downloading your emotions to your children. Your children look at you. How am I supposed to feel in this situation? So if you feel proud of them, then they feel proud. And of course, they have to have those experiences so that when they get to be around the age of, 7, they have that basic sense of I'm acceptable and I can do these things for myself. I am successful. I've got a lot of skills that I've been taught, and I have something to bring to the table when I'm playing with my friends. Okay. The other thing about routines, and this is not exactly a routine, but you get there through routines, and that is boundaries. This is physical boundaries, emotional boundaries, sometimes intellectual boundaries. Before COVID, a lot of you were picking your children up at 5:30, 6 o'clock. By the time you get home and get dinner and get everybody fed and everybody bathed and homework for older children, it becomes very difficult to set a lot of limits because you only have them for such a short period of time. So your limits may be good in terms of what they can and can't do, but you're totally accessible to them. You're only seeing them for 2 awake hours. You're certainly not going to tell them, I don't have time for you. So a lot of people don't have those boundaries established with their child. How do you, oh Lord, go to the bathroom in privacy? The only way to get there is, of course, by saying, this is how we do this. I go in here and I close the door. I promise I always come back out. I promise you. You're going to have to start setting those boundaries for yourself. I'm working right now. I can't play with you. This is your time to do whatever it is. And if it's the routine, then they understand, oh, they're serious about this. They don't play with me. If we break down and play with them when we tell them that we're not, that just, it becomes a conditioning, right? It's like the kid in the grocery line who says, I want candy. And for an hour before they get there, the parent's been saying, you are not getting candy when we go to the grocery. It's not good for you. It's not healthy. We need to eat when we get home. So they get in the line and the child starts, right? I want candy. Or let's give it a name. I want M&Ms. And the parent says, no, remember we talked about that. No M&Ms. We're not getting candy. The child gets louder and louder and louder, and the parent gets embarrassed, basically, right? Because they figure everybody's watching. And people are watching, but they're not judging the way you think they are. They're just happy it's not their child at the moment. So what does the parent do? They're embarrassed, and so they say, oh, just take the candy. Here, just take it. What you're doing when you do that is you're training your child to make more and more and more noise. If you want candy, just get louder and louder, and you'll get candy. So I think that example is probably something everybody's faced, and we all give in sometimes. I'm not saying that you have to be perfect with this. Certainly you do not, but predictable, okay? I can predict that I can scream as loud as I want, and I am not going to get candy in the grocery line. I'm going to get all hot and bothered, and nobody's talking to me because they're ignoring me because I'm screaming. Children learn pretty quickly that that's not the way to get what they want. So setting boundaries, okay? If you're going to yell at me, I'm going to walk away. And you can chase behind me, but I'm going to close my door. That may seem brutal at first, but they're not heartbroken. They're just trying a skill, right? I can scream and cry and see if that works. It can't work. It can't ever work, or else they're going to try it. Okay? Intermittent reinforcement is the most powerful kind. If you let it every now and then be rewarded, then you are really teaching them to act up in that way. So that was a little detour from boundaries. Back to boundaries. This is a long, extended period of time where the children are around more, and you cannot be accessible to them every moment of the day. You have to take care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, then your children are not going to feel safe and happy. So you need those mental breaks. If you are a two-adult household, you can tag team that. I need a break. You're on for the next half hour or however long you need the break to be. And that should be sort of predictable too, so that they know I'm going in my room, I'm closing the door, and I will be out in 15 minutes. If you really do stay in there and you don't come out until 15 minutes, again, they get to be able to predict that passage of time, and they're more likely to be compliant. This does not happen on the first try. This takes a while. It probably is going to take a week, maybe 2 weeks. When children come into our center who have been asked to leave other child care centers for behavior that the child care center says is uncontrollable, often those children come to us, and within a few weeks they are fine. They have no problem. It was the inconsistency of the adults where they came from. I don't know if it's an inability, but a stubbornness on the part of the adult. Some adults think, well, children shouldn't control me. They're not controlling you. Giving them what they want on your timeline is important. Yes, I can give you attention, but right now I need a break. We're also teaching children how to do that. When we do that, we're modeling it for them, modeling how to do self-care. So, the children, they are perfectly capable of saying, go away from me, I need my space. A lot of them say exactly those words at school. And that might seem a little bit rude, but you have to start at the beginning with children. First, you just need to teach them how to say it, and then you can move into polite conversation. So they're capable of that. They will understand what you mean when you say. If they're 3 or 4, they will get it. I need my alone time. I need some space. At the center, we have what are called safe spaces. They're in each classroom, and it's a place where the child can go. It's not a punishment. It is not a timeout. It is, this is some place that you can go and feel whatever you're feeling and be by yourself and find your center again. So the children, they know that language. They know what you're talking about. So model that for them. They will learn it. It may take a couple of weeks, but they will learn it. The other thing about physical boundaries, and this is really important in ways that people don't think of often. Again, you may be with them more and find that you need some real physical separation from them. You don't want them all over your body every moment of the day. Some kids are like that. So you're teaching them by saying, I need my space. You're teaching them how to say that. And that's a very important skill for children, to be able to tell people, go away from me. I don't like this. I don't like the way this feels right now. They don't have all that vocabulary, but they've got the feeling. So you say that to them, model that to them. Yeah, it's important in the long run. I don't want to get too far into this, but it's important in the long run for them to be able to say no. stop. I don't like that. I don't want that. It gives them the power to do that. Some people enter into intimate relationships, physical relationships, in part because they don't know they can say no. They don't know that they have that power, and they don't have to feel what the other person is feeling. I don't want to be close right now. I want my space. So show that to your children. Set limits. Use a timer. I'm going to go into my room for 10 minutes, and when the timer goes off, I'll come out. Sometimes that helps take the heat off of you. It's the timer, right? Whenever the timer says it's time to come out, then I come out. Now be careful, children learn how to add minutes to the timer. They do that pretty quickly. So get a timer like on the stove or on your phone that they can hear. Something they can't fiddle with and prolong the time, because they will do that. So yeah, that's it on personal boundaries. And I mentioned intellectual because as well, you may want to read something and your children are bugging you. This is my time. This is good for my brain. What's good for your brain? You may want to establish a reading time. We all read now. I read my book. You've got books. This is reading time. And no, I'm not reading to you. I'm reading to myself. And I'll read to you later. Those kinds of routines. Going out first thing in the morning and taking a walk with your child. If you've got more than one, you're going to have to play this one by ear. Some children need that alone time with a parent. So you may take one child each day of the week for some special morning time. Working time into the schedule that you've got to give them individual attention is important. We shouldn't always be telling them no. It's just back to that routine. If we teach them, I am here for you. They don't know what this means, right? 24/7. I just need a few minutes to myself. Those routines teach them that. Mom or dad may go away into their room to read for a little bit, but they're going to come back out and play with me. And when they come back out, we go outside. When they come back out, whatever the routine is. Okay. Maybe it's just checking back in. Okay, I feel better now. I'm ready to play whatever it is they wanted you to do with them. And these are just examples. They're going to fit your family specifically, of course. But I think the morning walk is a really good one when, there's nothing to do but talk and talk about what you're seeing and share experiences. So, yeah, if that works for you, that would be a really good thing to do. You want to find a way to get one-on-one time with each child, and that's hard. So you want to work it into the routine, something you would be doing anyway. Cooking, so-and-so, I need you to be my helper today. I want to help. No, you helped yesterday. Tuesday is your sister's day or your brother's day to help with cooking. Okay, so working that in to your schedule, having little dates with your child can be really helpful. Now, I want to talk about another topic because a lot of how these things go depend on your child's temperament. And by temperament here, if you've never heard that term, I'm not referring to temper. When we think of temper, we think somebody's got a hot temper or they're quick to anger. Temperament refers to a set of inborn characteristics that set us up for how we interact with the world. It's genetic. It's inborn. You may not have your parents' temperament, but you may be just like a grandparent you never even met, because your temperament is exactly like that relative. So if you can think of things like, some people love to go to parties. They love the stimulation. They love all the back and forth, seeing different people, eating new food, being in a new surrounding. They love that. Temperamentally, that person would be referred to as having easy temperament. They like different kind of stimulation. They like new things. Another kind of temperament is kind of the opposite of that. They don't like new things. They don't like new situations. They don't like having to talk to lots of different people. They don't want to be trying new foods, um, because biologically they're set up to be more defensive about all those changes, all that newness. So if you want to think of it in terms of newness, that would be, I think, helpful. There are three types of temperament, and I love these researchers for their practicality. They call it like it is. They defined easy, difficult, and slow to warm up. Now, people now take exception with the term difficult, and so they call it things like flexible, fearful, and feisty. If you've ever heard that, they're talking about temperament. But feisty doesn't really define what difficult temperament is. These children are, I think that down the road, the research may show that highly sensitive children are the ones that we've considered difficult. They're more difficult to raise because they're so highly sensitive. It's hard to take them out in public sometimes. They want to hide behind you. They don't want to talk to people. Um, they don't want to stay there very long. They're ready to go home. They're ready to go back to where they are comfortable with everything and where they can predict what's going to happen next. Routines for those children are particularly important. And people kind of err here because they think, well, this isn't working, we should try this. Well, that didn't work either, we should try this thing. But for a child with difficult temperament, that's constantly new stuff. What they really need is for you to set a schedule, set some kind of routine that they can get used to. And once they're used to the routine, they're fine. These are the children who need more predictability. You can tell kind of what temperament your baby has. Once children have been interacting with the world for a couple of years, it's more difficult to name what the temperament is because experience does come in and influence this. But at birth and throughout that first year, 2 years, the difficult children are the ones who are it's hard to predict when they're going to be hungry, when they're going to be sleepy, how long they're going to be able to stay awake and play. Their biological rhythms are not as predictable as children with easy temperament. Children with easy temperament are going to sleep at the same time every day. Or they'll be sleepy. They're not sleeping because you put them down for a nap. They get sleepy. They get hungry at the same time. So it's easy to care for them. If they start to cry and you look at the clock and go, oh yeah, it's time to feed you. It's easy. You feed them and then they're fine. The child with difficult temperament has a hard time letting you know what they need because their body isn't regular. And they get cranky. Yeah, and they're at risk. They're at risk for developing self-esteem issues because the world has not been kind to them. They don't know that that's not on purpose. As we get older, we can start controlling some of these things for ourselves. You may show up at the party, but as soon as things get to be a little intense, you can leave. You've got keys, you've got a car, you can go somewhere else, right? Children can't do that. They don't have the power to take themselves out of situations when it's overwhelming. So pay attention to that. Does your child get overwhelmed by stimulation faster than other children? If so, then they need you to help slow it down. Sometimes parents' tendency is to say, you can do it, go on and do it, I know you can do it. And their child is really emotionally distraught. They need a little more time to get used to this change. Okay, they will over time, but they need your consistency to help them with that. It's not dangerous. Nothing bad's going to happen. See, so-and-so did it, and I did it, and come on, it's fun. Maybe it's just getting in the pool, something that doesn't feel right to them. I really do think that what we're calling highly sensitive people, that research is going to show that these are people with difficult temperament. They're sensitive in just about in every aspect. They're more sensitive than other children. Smells bother them, different tastes might bother them, um, noises. Um, no, anything new. Just think of it that way. If there's going to be, if your child seems to fit this profile and you're going to have to do something new with them, they need a lot of lead-in time. They need you talking to them about it. Um, they need you explaining things to them. Now you don't want to start too far ahead, right? Because the whole passage of time thing. So you may be preparing your child for a family wedding. You don't want to start that like weeks ahead of time. We're talking a couple of days here. Um, let's, talk about a wedding and what a wedding is and why we're going to go and why it's important to be quiet during some parts of it. Um, we should be doing that for all the children with easy temperament too. But the children with difficult temperament really need that from us. They need that to be competent. Okay, they can think about it. Um, yeah, we'll see what the research eventually shows about that. Let me check my notes and see if there's anything else that I wanted to say about that. Just the one other note about children with difficult temperament. The lovely thing about them is, although they can have extreme negative emotion, they also have extreme positive emotion. So you will not see a more excited child than a child who has difficult temperament. When they get excited, they are extremely excited. They feel all emotions intensely. Okay? So of all your children, if you've got one who's difficult, that's the one who's going to be having the most trouble through this time. They're going to have trouble adjusting back to going to school because it's, again, another big change. So whenever there's a big change, you can expect that child's going to need more from you. And this all rolls into routines because the routine helps them predict and gives them less to stress about. Okay? The more the routine you've got, the less those occasional, this is real different and I don't like it. That's happening occasionally, excuse me. COVID, don't want to just scratch my nose without a tissue. There we go. Yeah, allergies kind of get in the way. Okay, before I so rudely interrupted this, I was trying to wrap up there talking about routines and temperament. It's important for all of us to have some routine. It's important for our mental health. It's important to your children's mental health as well. And I invite you to try, if you've got older children, you may want to have a family meeting. This isn't going so well the way we're sharing our space during the day. So let's talk about what we're going to do instead. And you take everybody's suggestion. What should we do? Okay, I want to read, another adult in the house needs to be working on their computer right now. You have homework to do. So how are we going to make sure everybody gets their work done? And with older children, they can give you suggestions. Take every suggestion. Okay, this is teaching them how to do this. Take every suggestion and then start weeding through. Okay, well, do you think this is going to work? Talk out why it's not going to work. You know why. They may offer up something and you know instantly why that wouldn't work. But go through the process with them. Why isn't that going to work? That helps them feel, again, like life is less arbitrary. It helps them feel a sense of power and control over what's going on. Remember, children have none. They really have no power. And we need to help them feel powerful in any way that we can. Yeah. Children who grow up thinking that they can't affect the world are children who have trouble deciding what they want to do in the world. So we want to make sure we're setting them up for success. I hope that this has been helpful to you. We are going to go live on Thursday, this coming Thursday. And I should have had that date right on my fingertips, and I don't. I think it is 20, 21, the 23rd, I believe, at 8:30, and you'll be getting an invitation to that. And I hope to see you then. All right. Goodbye and stay healthy.